It's certainly been a very exhausting 3 months.
And months of anticipation to see how Portland Mayor Keith Wilson would balance the city's $8.5 billion budget. His proposal addresses the shortfall of $93 million in the city's general fund. But just so we're all on the same page, so far it's just a proposal. City Council still has to sign off on it, and that is far from a done deal. Wilson, as a political newcomer, had his hands full. There's that historic budget gap, the end of many one-time pandemic dollars, uncertainty around federal funds, slowing property tax revenues, and a growing homeless crisis. The list goes on. Mayor Wilson says with all that in mind, he wants to, quote, go back to the basics.
It's time for Portland to follow a back to the basics approach on fiscal responsibility and long-term sustainability. Prioritizing a safe, clean, welcoming, and economically vibrant city will place our community on financial, sustainable footing and position us to return to national leadership on the social issues that matter most.
Now, in the weeks leading up to today, there were some big questions floating around. Would the mayor propose cuts to public safety? How many city employees would be laid off? And what about Portland's coveted community centers? And will it really cost another $28 million to end unsheltered homelessness, which the mayor has promised to do by the end of this year?
We must make Portland the city that we once were, where people sought us out and we had population growth and job growth, of which both are anemic today.
All right, take a look. We've broken it down for you. The departments getting the most are first, and the mayor's proposal is as follows. Nearly $5 billion for public works, $1 billion for community and economic development, $1 billion for city operations, more than $800 million for the city administrator's office, just over $600 million for public safety, $21 million for city council, $13 million for the city auditor's office, and $3.5 million for the mayor's office. Now we know the homeless crisis is a top priority for the mayor and for Portlanders. According to a city survey, 85% of Portland residents rank homelessness among the top challenges facing the city. Mayor Wilson wants to put $24 million towards 1,500 new shelter beds, and he wants to open them by December 1st. Now, that's all part of his plan to end unsheltered homelessness by the end of this year. That $24 million, he says, is coming from the state and regional government Metro. Metro voted last week to send $15 million to the city. The state is sending the rest. Now, this money will also continue to fund 8 tiny home villages. Mayor Wilson also wants to put $1 million towards 50 already existing beds at the state's largest shelter in North Portland. That's Bybee Lakes Hope Center.
Every dollar we spend on unsheltered homelessness must restore the quality of life, reduce the burden on our public safety system, and unlock Portland's true economic potential.
Okay, another priority, public safety. According to that same city survey, about 62% of Portlanders rate police and fire among the most important services to support, especially people in District 1, which is East Portland.
For the most part, not one program is taking a cut, and many are increasing.
Mayor Wilson is proposing adding 14 full-time positions to Portland Street Response and expanding that program's hours. Now, that's the group that responds to mental health emergencies and other nonviolent calls. Mayor Wilson wants to put $19 million towards law enforcement and the Community Health Assess and Treat Team, or CHAT, and they specialize in responding to overdoses and other low acuity calls. And he wants to cap police and fire overtime hours by cutting $2 million from both bureaus. But those cuts can wait one more year because for this proposed budget, one-time funds will cover it.
Our first responders must arrive rested and ready when called, and I've asked to mitigate expensive overtime.
And then there's the question of layoffs inside City Hall, something that has been causing a lot of tension over the past several weeks. Well, no surprise, layoffs are coming. 186 jobs, including some vacant positions, are on the chopping block. A third, so around 60 jobs, are being cut from Portland's Permitting and Development Agency, and 14 positions will be cut from Parks and Rec.
I hate layoffs, and I noted this at my State of the City. And I've always fought like hell, no matter what organization I've been at, because when you have layoffs, you have culture change, and it is so important to keep that culture intact.
Now, cuts to the permitting department seem counterintuitive as the city is trying to encourage people to come get permits to build in Portland. But because so few projects are being built, cuts to that department were almost inevitable.
We have a permitting department that isn't sweating. We have too much staff for the level of business that we had. In this cycle, with the tens of millions of dollars of cuts, we looked at that hard, and it's frustrating, but we had to make hard and systemic cuts to it. There's no easy way to say it.
Mayor Wilson says there's a lot of inefficiency going on, so he's leading the charge with proposing a 12% cut to his own office's budget. He's proposing a $9 million cut in city services and staff, including communications, equity staff, and human resources, and cuts to programs that help small businesses. Now, while he's not looking to raise new taxes, Mayor Wilson is calling for a 25% increase in parking fees and a hike in utility bills, 8% hike to your water bill, and a 5% increase to sewer and stormwater bills. Now, here's what he said when I told him people are likely not going to be happy with this one.
Blair, my wife is not happy. I'll tell you that right now. It's certainly something I agree with the public. It's expensive. I did and looked at a comparison with our fees versus peer cities, and we're right in the middle. That surprised me. I was happy to see that, but that's not any solace for somebody who has to pay that bill.
Okay, then there's the Bureau of Transportation, and with that comes the big question of what to do with roads and Portland's infamous potholes. Mayor Wilson wants to double the city's investment in pothole repair, adding nearly $1.5 million to that program. He also wants to budget nearly $2 million for graffiti removal and another $2 million to remove rundown RVs. The mayor is also calling to support community centers and sports programs. Now, many rallied earlier this year when word got out that the St. John's Community Center could close because of these budget issues. The mayor, however, wants to cut staff at some parks and centers, increase golfing fees, and scale back so-called non-critical maintenance, things like cleaning restrooms, trash pickup, and playground repairs, in order to keep centers open and operating.
I would have to say that this was one of the bureaus that we had the most conversations on, both external with the community and internal amongst ourselves. I'm proud to say every community center, every program, and every park is going to remain open.
Now, Mayor Wilson also focused his budget on combating climate change by putting nearly $12 million towards replacing old equipment on city property with new energy-efficient versions, and spending $5 million to upgrade some city vehicles, transitioning towards electric instead of gas. Again, City Council has to sign off on all of this. They have 4 weeks to hear from the community and hold work sessions before proposing changes of their own and eventually adopting the final budget in June. Mayor Keith Wilson is confident they will move forward with much of his plan.
This budget, as it's being unveiled, is not a surprise to any of them. They spent this weekend with us in our conference room going through the budget. Their DNA is already in this budget.
So we heard from some city councilors today. Councilor Steve Novick, representing District 3 in Southeast, sent the following statement saying in part, quote, he's concerned by the heavy reliance on one-time funds in this budget. Again, the mayor is to be congratulated on raising $25 million from state and regional partners to fund his initiative to add shelter space this year. But there's no guarantee that Metro will give us another $15 million next year. And it is virtually guaranteed that the state will not give us additional money next year. And Councilor Mitch Green of District 4 on the west side is proposing a plan to keep parks open and well maintained by using money from what's called the Clean Energy Fund. Councilor Green wants to protect what he calls one of the best things Portland has going for it. And he'll present his plan on Wednesday. The same day, City Council will have its first work session on the mayor's budget proposal. And we'll bring you the highlights on Wednesday night. But councilors want to hear from you, and so do we. So what are your thoughts on the mayor's proposed budget? Cutting some jobs while increasing fees. You know, we expected bigger cuts, we'll be honest, but here we are. Email us, the story at kgw.com, or call and leave a voicemail, 226-5090.